And welcome everyone. My name is Kirk Eller, and I am a training coordinator with the California Department of Veteran Affairs. We have a webinar here today for you for Ventura College for the VRC there. And we're going to be talking about veteran readiness in employment, or VR&E. Today we are going to go through some overview of what the CalTAP program is real briefly. And then we have Anthony Rodriguez, who is the Los Angeles region link, or the local interagency network coordinator, and he's going to tell you what his roles and responsibilities are briefly, just to inform you on how to connect with your benefits. And then we have Maura Kasdan here from the VA as a VR&E specialist. She's going to be able to go over some of the VR&E program for you, okay? If you're not familiar with the Zoom process, please open up the toolbar at the bottom of your page where it says Q&A. We will be accepting questions throughout this webinar for the Q&A session, and we will be answering them directly in that Q&A tab. Myself and my colleague Tara will be posting some information in the chat as well. We'll be posting our Veterans Resource Book as well as our link map in there, as also some links to some other benefits for you to access. With that going forward, we're going to get started right away so that we can get to our topic of the day. Thank you again for joining us. Next slide. So the CalTAP program was actually designed to inform and connect veterans of all eras what their earned benefits are from the federal and the state. And how we want to stay connected with you is we provide you services and pathways through these 5 pathways. And that's the core curriculum, our education pathway, employment, and entrepreneurship. There's also a 5th pathway for service providers. That's more for people who want to work with veterans in that area. That's like a training module. Next slide. This is what our Veterans Resource Book looks like. We will be posting a digital virtual copy in the chat, as well as a PDF for you to download, or you can go to our website at calvet.ca.gov, and you can actually download it from the bottom of the page there as well. Next slide. This is our homepage for Calvet. You can see some of how to contact us. You can also find a local VSO or a CVSO there that's highlighted in a link. And it shows at the bottom of the page the highlighted portion for the resource book in a PDF format. Please note that the PDF digital copy is the most up-to-date copy of our resource book. So if you clicked on the CalTAP portal where the laptop was, that will take you here to our CalTAP portal, and you can see each one of the pathways that I previously mentioned. And we're going to focus briefly on the core curriculum that covers your California-specific benefits. Next slide. So this is just an overview of how to navigate our website and how to find your California benefits. Under each one of these modules that are self-paced, you can go through this topics that's highlighted there, and the California benefits will be listed in Module 5. Next slide. So everybody wants to know, what are your California benefits? Next slide. So the most popular that we get questions about all the time are our college tuition fee waiver. This enables a tuition to be waived at any state-funded school for the veteran's dependents if they have a service-connected disability rating from either 0% to 100%. We can talk more about this in the Q&A if you have questions about it, or you can visit our website to find out more on what the eligibility is and what the plans that we have. The next one that was really popular is our veteran designation on our driver's license. This allows you to have that veteran right on your driver's license to establish that designation. It just lets people know that you're a veteran. You don't have to carry around multiple identifications to show your veteran status. And then our motor vehicle registration fee waiver. This waives the fee for one registration for your vehicle if you have a service-connected disability rating of 100% with permanent and total with mobility. Next slide. Other divisions that we have are our Veteran Services Division, our Home Loans Division, Women Veterans, and then our Minority and Underrepresented Veterans. These divisions provide advocacy and outreach for women veterans and minorities, and they also have a statewide roster that you can sign up for, and then that provides an access to them to continually stay connected with you, and then you can stay abreast with the upcoming events that they have. We also have 8 homes for our long-term care throughout the state of California. They provide excellent care at different levels for our aging veterans, from skilled nursing facilities as well as independent living and memory care units and geriatric care as well. We have 3 cemeteries throughout the state, one in Igo and Redding, one in Oceanside at Seaside, California, or Oceanside, but Monterey in Seaside, excuse me. And then our third one is attached to the Yountville Veteran Home in the Napa Valley. We do have a 4th cemetery under construction in the Lake Forest region in Southern California. I'm not sure when that one is going to be open for burials. Next slide. We also have reduced fishing and hunting license for veterans through our wildlife.org, our California benefits. These benefits would be eligible for veterans with a 50% service-connected disability rating or greater. And the same with the State Park Pass, which is a distinguished veteran pass, which will waive the fees for all state parks. You would go directly to those websites and apply for those benefits directly on their websites. There's also a disabled veteran property tax exemption and a business license exemption if you have a service-connected disability rating of 100% or greater. It's encouraged that you contact your local county where you pay your taxes, because they would assess your benefit specifically for that county, because it may change from county to county what your exemptions may be. Next slide. So this is how CalTAP wants to stay connected with you. We want you to provide an on DoD email to our CalTAP email box. We can also register on My CalVet on our homepage to stay connected. And then you can also add us on our social media platforms from Instagram, Facebook, and our CalVet Facebook as well. We also have a YouTube channel for all of our recorded webinars like this one. This one will be recorded. And then we will also be placing a PDF of this webinar, of this slideshow, in the chat as well for your future reference as well. You can also attend these webinars like today, and then also fill out our survey. This is our link and our QR code, where we do encourage you to take the survey, because we value that feedback to stay abreast with the needs that you're looking for and what you're interested in, so that we can provide that continuous improvement. Next slide. This is how you register for My CalVet on our homepage. You just hit register, put your information in there, and then send in your email address, and then you can get approved. Next slide. This is what you'll receive as a flyer for our weekly announcements for workshops that are upcoming, as well as other resources for workshops, and just staying connected with CalVet, finding out about other needs that are changing about veteran benefits. Next slide. The U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs is one of our, we work with our partners, them a lot. So we highlight their website to show you some of the changes that have been made and how you can access and manage some of your benefits. Previously, you used to use e-benefits, but that's changing now with signing in directly to the VA into the My VA portal. And you can not just access your benefits, but you can actually manage them all in one location. Next slide. This is Tara's contact information, which that's okay. My contact will be at the end as well. But please don't hesitate to reach out to any one of us at CalVet if you have any questions. If you put any questions in the chat, I'll try to get back to them as soon as I can. And I will also be posting some information in the chat as well. And then now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague and good friend, Anthony Rodriguez, who is the link coordinator for the Los Angeles region. Hello, my friend Anthony. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Great to be here. Thanks everybody for attending. Yeah, thank you. So I am the link in the Los Angeles Ventura County area, as the slide shows. Next page, please. And I'm one of 8 individuals statewide whose sole job it is to help you connect with all your military benefits, be them state, federal, county, city, nonprofit, wherever they may be. As you can see from this chart, the actual names of the individuals in the various regions. And very briefly, you can see that I cover LA and Ventura counties, but we have an individual in Orange County, the San Diego Imperial County area. We have someone in the Inland Empire in red, We have an individual from Santa Barbara to Santa Cruz on the Central Coast. We have someone covering the Central Valley in that kind of purple color. We have someone, an experienced person in the green in the Bay Area, and in the yellow in Northern California. So we're here, we live in the area, and our job it is to help you connect. Next page, please. Some of the things that we do as Links is that we provide outreach. Many of us go to military bases and do presentations, or National Guard and Reserve. We attend a lot of different meetings. We make referrals. We're a part of the state's Office of Emergency Services. We are kind of the eyes and ears for the state of California, as well as individuals who look real hard to help connect folks locally as we cover such a large area in terms of geography. Next page, please. One of the greatest things I think that we do is we help explain how things work. In any particular area, they can be very complicated. The system was not designed to be easy, unfortunately, and there's a lot of interplay and interchange between county benefits, state benefits, federal benefits, nonprofit benefits, contractors, and so forth. So we kind of help you lead the way. We kind of are your pathfinder, so to speak, as well as being experts in the state benefits. Next page. These are the most common requests that I get as a link. This might be worthy of you to take note of, or maybe take a quick photo, but very quickly, the differences between federal and state educational benefits are a common question. How the VA works, what are the benefits in their respective strata of government, federal, state, city, and so on. Who are the specific contacts in our local area for housing, healthcare, mental health, and so on. Information about the home loan, the federal side and the state side. I'm not an exact expert in the state side, but I have a referral, which we take you to, who can help you very much. Uses of, or what is the CalTAP? That's what you're experiencing now, kind of giving you information about that. I passed that along. Contacts with the various colleges. Today, we're with Ventura College Veteran Resource Center, but I meet regularly with all of the directors and coordinators to assist you, as well as information about active reserve, National Guard, different benefits, and how to connect you all together. Next page. So as I say, there's a whole lot of information. The main thing that I really want you to take from my presentation, or my portion, is that all of us Links are here to help you. You can call us locally. We'll do our best to connect you to local, city, state, federal benefits in any way we can. All right, that's my portion. I'll kick it back over to Kirk and Tara, and they can take it from here.
Hi, thank you. And now I'd like to welcome Maura Kasdan. She's a VR&E service provider, and she's going to go over the VR&E portion of this presentation.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having me to present today. As Tara mentioned, my name is Maura Kasdan. I am a Vet Success on Campus counselor and also a vocational rehabilitation counselor with the VR&E program, Veteran Readiness and Employment. I will be reviewing the process from beginning, what happens after entitlement, and also once you complete any training program that's approved, and also the service that I provide as a Vet Success on Campus counselor. Next slide, please. So Veteran Readiness and Employment, formerly known as Vocational Rehabilitation and Employment, still VR&E. The main goal for Chapter 31 is to assist veterans who have service-connected disabilities that may limit the veteran's ability to work or prevents them from working. VR&E is a benefit that can assist with training, job readiness, assistance with schooling, and other aspects of assistance. As I mentioned earlier, it's now VR&E, Veteran Readiness and Employment. Sometimes it's referred as Chapter 31, VR&E. It's still sometimes referred as Voc Rehab. It's only the name that changed. Everything else remained the same. But the goal is to help veterans explore employment options and addressing any training needs that they may have. Reminder is that VR&E is not an education program. That is the Chapter 33 Post-11 GI Bill, Chapter 30 Montgomery GI Bill. VR&E does provide training, but if needed for suitable employment. And I'll review that in the next slides. Next slide, please. Now, eligibility to apply to Chapter 31. A veteran must have a minimum of a 10% service-connected disability rating or more, and she or he did not receive a dishonorable discharge. With a combined 10% service-connected disability rating, aside from the counselor identifying an employment handicap, which would mean the veteran is entitled to the program, at 10%, the counselor also evaluates if there's a serious employment handicap. And I'll review that also further in the next slides. So at 10%, you would need 2 parts for entitlement to Chapter 31. With a combined of 20% or more, for sure, the employment handicap is what determines entitlement to the program. But at 20% or more, a serious employment handicap may apply or it may not apply. If it doesn't, they would be entitled with the employment handicap. So 10%, you need 2 parts, employment handicap and serious employment handicap. 20% or more, at least the employment handicap. And maybe the serious employment handicaps applies or not. But with the employment handicap, they would be entitled to the program. Veterans may apply to Chapter 31 through va.gov. You do submit the application, which is at 28-1900 electronically. There are questions that you will answer. You're a veteran. What's your rating percentage? At least 10% or more. And there are slides that is on the website. And there's also videos that describes the 5 tracks that we have with Chapter 31, which I will also briefly explain on in the upcoming slides. I do highly encourage to review the slides and also the videos and before you submit the application so that you can also familiarize yourself more about the Chapter 31 program. Now, there is a basic period of eligibility to apply to Chapter 31, which is 12 years from the date that you received your first disability rating notification. So from that date, you would have 12 years to apply to Chapter 31. However, now VR&E is mirroring the Chapter Post-11 GI Bill, the Forever GI Bill. So you might have, I believe it's still, if you were discharged after 2013, January 1st, 2013. Now that's the Forever GI Bill. VR&E is also mirroring it. So now there's no 12-year gap for you to apply for VR&E. Okay, next slide. Application process. So once you submit your application, and I apologize, it should say 1900, not 1900B. Then you would be assigned a vocational rehab counselor, VRC. The VRC will contact the veteran more than likely through email. We use an automated system called EVA, and to schedule an initial evaluation appointment. More than likely, it would be a video call. I haven't heard them do in person, but you can request in person if need be. But they're also more than likely through a video call. The counselor will send the veteran what we call the VR&E questionnaire. And also, we did have an assessment because we also need to measure the interest of the veteran, their aptitudes. We are going to hopefully get that assessment soon. But in the meantime, we do ask for grades if you're currently in school. And there is a free interest assessment online that you can complete. The counselor can provide that information to you. Also provide your resume and transcripts. All those documents are needed to be sent back to the counselor before your scheduled appointment. Okay, because that's what they're going to review at the initial evaluation. Next slide, please. Now, these are the 5 tracks that we do have with VR&E. As I mentioned earlier, they are on before you apply to VR&E online. There is a re-employment track, which is for veterans that want to return to a former employer. prior to where they work prior to active duty. There's a rapid access to employment, which is veterans already have the skill sets, and they just need assistance to find employment. We also do have self-employment track for veterans that are interested in starting a business. And then there's also the employment through long-term services, which this is a track that is most common, which includes training. And then we also have independent living, which is a track if the veterans' disabilities are too severe, where they cannot work at the present time. VR&E evaluates if there are any independent living needs that VR&E can provide that the hospital at the VA cannot. The counselor develops a plan that will include the services that have been identified. And then they always reevaluate at the end of the plan to see if now the veteran's health is stable and they're able to work now. Okay. Next slide. Now, entitlement process. Does the veteran have a vocational impairment? And that includes the effects of the service-connected disabilities, if there's any deficiencies in education and training, any potential impacts of employers' negative perceptions about the veterans or service members' disabilities, other pertinent factors resulting in restrictions on employability, such as lack of stable, continuing, and suitable employment. Now, for entitlement, the counselor evaluates the effects of the service-connected disabilities. But once the veteran is found, if they're found entitled, prior to developing a plan, they look at all the disabilities. So for entitlement, they only look at the effects of the service-connected disabilities. They also will review the limitations from the non-service connected, but they can only look at the effects of service-connected disabilities for entitlement. Okay. Next slide, please. Now, an employment handicap is defined as an impairment resulting in substantial part from the service-connected disability, a veteran's ability to prepare for, obtain, or maintain suitable employment. I apologize for the, looks like there's a lot of space in there in between. Consistent with his or her pattern of measured or demonstrated abilities, aptitudes, and interests. Not all veterans are found entitled because they may have overcome their vocational impairment. At that time, they will refer the veteran to State Department of Rehabilitation, which also they do provide vocational rehab services to people with disabilities to help them find work. And for their services, as long as there's a documented disability, they will be eligible. Again, here for the serious employment handicap, it includes the significant impairment of the veteran's ability to prepare for, obtain, and retain employment, consistent with abilities, aptitudes, and interests. So that's more like how significant are the service-connected disabilities that it also has affected other areas for employment. A veteran does have 48 months of entitlement with Chapter 31. However, months that have been used from other chapters of, such as GI Bill, Chapter 30, Chapter 1606, which is for reservists, the post 9/11 GI Bill, those months that they've used will be deducted from those 48 months that they would have with Chapter 31. Okay, and now, as of April 2021, Chapter 31 no longer deducts from the GI Bill time. But the GI Bill does deduct from Chapter 31. Okay, that is part of what we call the retroactive induction. And now I'll also review that in the upcoming slides. Next slide, please. Now, there are different types of plans that we have. And the type of plan that is developed with the counselor will depend on the veteran's individual rehabilitation needs. One of them, which we usually combined. It's called the Individualized Routine Rehabilitation Plan, IWRP, combined with the Individualized Employment Assistance Plan, IEAP. IWRP is a training component. Employment Assistance Plan is looking for the job. Okay. If there's any concerns about the veteran's readiness for employment, we can further evaluate the veteran's feasibility with an extended evaluation plan to address those concerns. And then the veteran is always reevaluated and to see, okay, are we now able to develop a long-term rehab plan? Okay. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the independent living plan as well. All plans do include a vocational goal towards employment. That goal, it should match your interests, your aptitudes, not worsen your disabilities, and have a good labor market. And they also include objectives. If it will include, if your counselor approved, well, the training that is approved is based on the goal. And if that goal requires a certain degree, for example, a bachelor's degree, they will train up to the point where you are employable to enter that field. And then now you're employable. Anything past that would be optional. So if that's the degree or certificate, the objective will include that training site. As all rehab plans have this objective, maintenance of physical and psychological health, continue with all your medical appointments, medical treatments. Also will include the objective for employment services. If training is approved for you, then you would start looking for a job within the goal that has been approved. Through the extended evaluation plan, it can include work assessments to further evaluate the veteran's feasibility or any objectives for the IL services. Now, Chapter 31 does provide 100% of your tuition fees, school supplies, and a monthly subsistence allowance. They do cover 100% of the subsistence allowance. As you all may know, Chapter 33 might, not might, it consists of your active duty time. Some veterans may only receive 60%, 80%. Chapter 31, regardless of active duty time, they cover 100%. As you may know, if you're using the education benefit, the post 9/11, for example, they provide a stipend for your books. And sometimes they might only send you 400, for example, but your books are 600, you're paying out of pocket the difference. Chapter 31, they cover 100% of your books and supplies. Veterans may not use more than one chapter at a time. If you're currently using the GI Bill post 9/11, for example, you can still apply to VR&E if you're found entitled. You work with your counselor to develop that rehabilitation plan. But you could not officially start training with Chapter 31 until the semester ends with Chapter 33, your GI Bill. Okay. Next slide, please. Oh, and I'm sorry, I read before the slide, the next slide came on. Also, if you have the post 9/11 GI Bill, Chapter 31 can match the post 9/11 rates, even if you have at least 1 day of your post 9/11 and it hasn't exhausted. Okay. Retroactive induction. What that includes is possible restoration of your Chapter 33 months that you have used. They can recoup possibly 1 day of Chapter 33 in order for Chapter 31 to match the post 9/11 rates. However, the following criteria must be met in order for a retroactive induction to be applicable. Is if the veteran was service connected during the time they were using their GI Bill, and Chapter 31 continues the program that you were pursuing under the GI Bill. Okay. There will be documents that you might have to submit to the vocational rehab counselor while they're evaluating if a retroactive induction applies to you. Okay. Next slide, please. Now, what does the counselor do? They do provide case management. You will have a voc rehab counselor throughout the duration of your program. They will submit an authorization for your tuition. We do cover parking, and some schools require a separate authorization for books and supplies. So the counselor will submit authorizations, and they will include the dates that the authorization is good for, which it could be per semester or at least up to a year. Um, it also includes the program that you're approved for. So when you request to be certified, if you're going to use Chapter 31, then the school certifying official will look at your authorization. Okay, they're approved for this certificate or degree or transfer for this major, and they'll make sure that it does match your ed plan in your classes. Okay. Working with the veterans, veterans are required to submit the grades at the end of each term. It is a requirement, and when you sign your rehab plan, that's official of the services that VR&E will be providing. And then the counselor also signs that rehab plan. Then that's when the counselor submits authorizations. And you'll see on the paperwork that it does include that you will need to submit copies of your grades. You also do need to report to your counselor. It depends on the case management level, whether that's monthly, quarterly, but we do need to meet with you in person at least once a year. I do tell my veterans, I need to hear from you at least every semester. More, here are my grades. We just don't want to not hear from you for a whole year. So always keep in contact with your counselor. Plans cannot be changed on your own. You would have to inform your counselor if there's any changes that you want to make on your rehab plan. They all have to be approved by the counselor. Okay. Next slide, please. Also, with school supplies, VR&E can provide equipment that is needed of all students in the program that you have been approved for. Calculators, for example, sometimes veterans, I need a scientific calculator. Counselor might ask, do you have the syllabus? Listing it's a requirement. We can also provide computers. You would inform your counselor the need for the computer. Some majors do require more than just a basic computer. For example, computer science majors, engineering. In that case, then your counselor might request documentation from either the department chair that all students in the same major require that specific computer. Okay. And also, so when you go purchase your books and you let the staff know at the bookstore, I'm using Chapter 31, they'll confirm they have your authorization. You get your books and supplies, basic school supplies, pens, pencils, basic school supplies. Then they will bill Chapter 31. You do not pay anything out of pocket. Okay. Next slide, please. Now, main goal for VR&E is to help the veteran find a suitable employment. Once you finish your authorized training program, then starts employment services. You inform your counselor, I have graduated. We need proof of program completion that either can be your transcripts, unofficial or okay, as long as it lists the date of that your degree was awarded to you, or a copy of the training, the degree or certificate. And they might ask for your resume. They might also ask, is there anything that might impede you from looking for employment? If everything's good to go, you're declared job ready. They refer you to work with an EDD representative to help you look for employment. And for your active participation in jobs and looking for employment, you are approved an employment adjustment allowance, 2 of them, that are paid in increments of 30 days. So first 30 days, the EDD rep does provide a monthly report to the counselor of your active participation in looking for a job. We also have employment coordinators that have a job club once a month. the employment coordinators informed the counselor. Veteran attended the job club. You can provide a job log to your counselor of the jobs that you have applied for. And that can show that, oh, veteran is actively looking for employment. Then the counselor, after 30 days of job ready services, they can approve your employment adjustment allowance. That can be equivalent if you were receiving the post 9/11 raise the last semester that you were in school, can be equivalent to that amount. Next 30 days, total of 60, you're still demonstrating you're looking for work, they can approve your second employment adjustment allowance. Okay, and very important, if you find a job, let your counselor know. You'll provide your employment information, their contact, your job title, your start date. Then they will monitor your employment for 60 days to make sure everything's okay. If everything's good to go, then they can successfully rehab your case. Next slide, please. Oh, there was there must had another slide for me, but I did have a presentation, but I did have a slide for chapter 36, which is the services that I provide as a Vet Success on Campus counselor. It basically is personalized career planning and guidance. And it's a free service. And as long as if you are currently in the military, if you will be discharged within the next 6 months, if you were discharged within the past 12 months, if you're currently using a VA education benefit, or if you have a service-connected disability. So basically, I meet with the veteran and review their background, civilian employment, military, any training that they've completed, what they're pursuing, what their goal, what's the goal that they want to pursue. I review the disability, service connected, non-service connected. We do the research on the goal. I do let them know if it's a suitable goal for them or not. So it's kind of like you can say the pre-chapter 31, but but it doesn't mean that you, for example, someone that doesn't have a service-connected disability, but they're using their GI Bill, they're eligible for Chapter 36, and they might need personalized career planning and guidance. They can apply for Chapter 36. But if they have a service-connected disability, once they meet with the VSOC for Chapter 36, then they apply to Chapter 31. Then they can let the counselor know, oh, I met with the VSOC and this is what we worked on. And we do write a report. The Chapter 31 counselor can see what the VSOC worked with the veteran, and hopefully it can help speed up the process if you're found entitled to develop a rehab plan. Okay. Here's my contact information. You can email me. This here is my direct phone. I will answer or please leave a message. I will get back to you. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maura. Here's also a list of contacts from everybody today. Thank you for all the presenters for sharing all the information and resources today. I really appreciate it. If you now, Kirk has been manning the question and answer. So Kirk, do we have some more questions that we can answer?
Yeah, hi Terry. Yeah, we have quite a few questions have come in. I've tried to answer quite a few of them as much as I could from my knowledge of the VR&E program, has gone through the program myself. But Mara, I'd like if you could jump on, because a lot of these are going to be requesting your expertise from the VR&E process. Specifically, you know, the first one is there's a lot of complaints. I think there's some that are asking about the contact and trying to reach out after they've applied and not hearing anything back. What's the best process if they have applied and they haven't heard anything, or how do they go through the process again if they have not been in that loop already to be reevaluated?
Yes, that's a very good question. Thank you. You can always reach out to me, and I can assist as best as I can to reach out to see if your application has been processed, if you've been assigned a voc rehab counselor. Once you do submit an application through EVA,
Okay.
not EVA, I'm sorry, VA.gov.
Yeah.
EVA is our automated system that we use. Sorry about that. And I can follow up to see where your application is at. I'm also going to include in the chat. There is a what we call Vera, VERA. You can always schedule a virtual appointment through this website or even an in-person appointment, and someone will get back to you um, at the time that and date that you select.
Okay.
I'll drop it in the chat here.
So what's
And
typically
that's
like,
another way.
yeah, what's typically like the
Mhm.
turnaround time? So say somebody applies and what's the average time frame? I kind of put this in the chat. It's kind of dependent upon case by case independent
Yes.
evaluations. So typically what's the rate and time frame now for the application process to go through the case manager and to be approved?
Yeah, typically we do tell veterans it might take 30 to sometimes 60 days to hear from a counselor.
Okay.
And we have received recently a lot of applications, and so the counselors are assigned applicants, and the counselors do schedule appointments based on the oldest to most recent application. So it all depends, but average can be 30 to 60 days.
Okay. Thank you. If they
Mhm.
have applied in the past and they wanted to reapply, maybe would they be able to get a different case manager or counselor, or maybe change their direction of their track or their process? Is that possible?
Yes, I was looking at the questions. Yes, they can always reapply to VR&E.
Okay.
They will have to go through the process again. Also, if whenever there's as they, you may know, whenever the VA makes a decision, the there's a letter that's sent to the veteran, and if the veteran disagrees with the decision, they have their review rights. That's always included in the decision letter as well. But yes, they can reapply, and I believe one of the questions, which is the form, is the 28-1900, and it's on va.gov.
Okay. So that's the form, the 1900. Thank you.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Now, the other question is, if you're 100% permanent in total, are you still eligible for P&T or VR&E?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I knew that one. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. The next one is, can you use your GI Bill to apply for law school in Central Valley? I think you can. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Maura, but it's encouraged if you have not used any of your VR&E, or you have not used any of your GI Bill, maybe use your VR&E first if you're going for an undergrad. Can you get anything beyond an undergrad degree with your VR&E?
Now, that's all a case by case basis. As I mentioned during the presentation, it all depends on the goal.
Okay.
The They will train up to the point that the veteran needs for training to enter that field. Um, the occupation should not worsen the disabilities, should match their interests, their aptitudes, have a good labor market. And so if that is approved, um, basically what the veteran does after entitlement, they do research on the goal. And they should identify at least 3 goals. And then present that information to the counselor. The counselor will then review that information to see first. I can speak for myself. I used to tell my veterans, if I cannot approve plan A, let's look at plan B. And so most of the time plan A was okay to approve. And so that's something that they would work with their counselor. And if that training, oh, I'm sorry, if that goal requires a bachelor's and they train up to the bachelor's, anything past that is optional. Hopefully the veteran has some time left under education benefit. And they can pursue if they want further education using their GI Bill. And VR&E can close a case because they're now employable, but the veteran chooses to pursue further education.
Okay. This question is about a name change through the VA. Would they, if they received a court order, are they eligible to change their name through the VA?
Yes, they can. Yes, they can.
Okay.
A lot. Yes, a lot of the information can be found through va.gov. On the search bar, you can type in a name change, and then it will prompt give the prompts for like where to select from for the information. Mm-hmm.
All right, we got quite a few questions. Thank you for rolling along here. Is there an age limit for VR&E?
No.
Okay.
No. As long as the veteran is service connected 10% or more, they're eligible to apply. Yeah.
Okay. And then this one asks, is if they're receiving disability payments, I'm assuming that this is referring to the BAH. If you receive BAH for VR&E, does that affect your disability payment a month from your disability?
I'm sorry, would you mind repeating that question?
Well, they're asking if will receiving this payment, would it affect the amount I get per month from my disability? So I'm assuming that
Meaning for like training?
Yeah, I'm assuming they're asking about the BAH on top of their disability. So
yeah, no.
I don't think it does. No.
No, it does not. Not that I am aware of. No, it should not, because it's separate.
The other thing too is, I was going to say that is somebody may be thinking that if they have a disability compensation payment coming, that this money may take away from what they're already receiving it. So, but they're apples and oranges. It's not going to affect it, right, Mauda? If you're 10%, you're going to always receive 10%. The education portion is separate, and
correct.
just the way the state benefits are separate, they won't affect them.
And when it comes to the tuition portion of it, there's no exchange of finances directly to the veteran anyway. So once you're enrolled in school, the VA pays the tuition directly, just like they would with your Chapter 33. And then the only on top of that funding would come to would be the BAH. So as far as I understand that.
Yes, and you just reminded me too, Kirk. Now VR&E does, same as a GI Bill, does provide tuition that required fees. For example, some schools do bill for a student representation fee or a student activity fee, and those are sometimes optional. And so VR&E, if it's not a required fee, they won't pay for that because the student can opt out of that. And yeah. So it's only required fees that we cover for tuition.
Thank you. All right. This person asks about elaborate how the election process looks when matching the GI Bill rates. I'm not sure.
What was the question again?
Is it elaborate how the election process looks when matching the GI Bill?
Yes. So when you sign your rehab plan, you'll see on the plan, it will have a box where it has received the Chapter 31 rates, received post 9/11 rates, and the third option would be receive the higher rate. So you have to make an election. Some veterans don't have post 9/11, and so they would receive the Chapter 31 rates, which with no dependents, full-time attending school is a little over $700 a month. So they would choose the Chapter 31 rates on the rehab plan. If they have post 9/11 GI Bill hasn't exhausted, they haven't exhausted it, it hasn't expired, then they could choose receive the post 9/11 rates. So that's the election that the veteran has to make. The third option is the veteran allowing the counselor to make that decision. We always try to provide the highest amount for the veteran. So for example, in that case, is sometimes a veteran enrolls in classes all online, right? And so that's
Right.
half the national BAH rate. But if they have dependents, sometimes the amount for Chapter 31 might be higher than the half the national BAH rate. So they allow the counselor to make that decision with the higher amount. So that's what the election involves.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Mm-hmm.
Next question. If you're failed out of the VR&E program or your GI Bill, do you have to repay fees or tuition?
No, not necessarily. Well, I can't say no, but I haven't seen that yet. I can speak for myself. And if a veteran is did not do well in school, um, in that case, the counselor with BRNE can reevaluate, like address why is a veteran not doing well
Right.
in school.
Right.
Do they need tutoring? Do we need to reevaluate the goal? And so there are times when a veteran does not pass a class, we can approve it a second time. But if they continue not to pass their classes, we have to address what's happening and how we can help. What areas to do? Yeah.
Thank you.
Hope that answered the question.
Yeah, no, great. If their tract is going through school or attending college, is there a grade point average or a minimum GPA that they have to maintain?
We do include on rehab plans at least minimum of a 2.0 or higher. Some counselors might include 2.5, depending on your major. Some majors, it sometimes it is what's the word? Like for example, engineering. Having a 3.0 GPA or higher can make a big difference. So that might be something the counselor might include on their. So it's all a case by case basis, but at least minimum a 2.0 or above.
Okay.
For GPA. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Next one is, do you have to maintain, is there a minimum credit or minimum case? Do they have to be full-time to be enrolled in school, or can they do it part-time school?
They can do full time. Well, they can do part time and full time, but they would have to communicate that with their counselor. It is encouraged to try to go full time because you finish your program faster.
Sure.
Part time might delay your graduation time, but that's something that it's okay. But you always would communicate that with your counselor. It is recommended full time if you can.
Okay. And then this one's kind of a personal question for, I think this one, you would want to just reach out to Mara directly to find out, or reapply to find out if you're eligible, if you previously applied. I think we've already addressed that one. So her contact information there, if you have any questions about the status of a claim that you've already applied for or reapplying again. So hopefully that
Yes,
can.
please email me. Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yes.
Would you be able to use the GI Bill and VR&E to pick up where your GI Bill left off? And that, I think you've already addressed that, if as long as you have more than 1 day left, or 1 day left on your VR&E and your case is approved, correct?
Yes, yes. So if you are pursuing a certain major and BRNE continues it, you were service connected, the retro induction may apply. And even if the retro induction does not apply, as long as the goal is within your interest, your aptitudes, does not worsen your disabilities, has a good labor market, then more than likely they can approve that goal. But also keeping in mind, because you do have 48 months of entitlement, looking at how much time does the veteran have on remaining, and how much time do they need for that training program. So that's something that the counselor also looks at as well. So everything's all a case by case basis.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's really the key, I think, is, a lot of people, they have their personal individualized questions that are unique to their case, where they would need to talk to the case manager specifically about their individual, training or program that's related to them. So I understand that completely.
Yeah. Yeah, and also
Um,
looking at the time that they have remaining of entitlement. Yeah.
yes, absolutely. Next one is kind of that scenario about they were approved for VR&E. They were tasked with 10 jobs within a 50-mile radius. And they had to submit the list to their counselor before they were approved.
Oh, I'm looking at that question too. Yes. Oh, okay. So I'll speak for myself. I used to ask my veterans to give me the full job description, because if they sent me the link, by the time I got to it, the job closed. I couldn't
Oh,
see it.
okay.
And so asking the full job description, you can either copy it or save it as a PDF file, combine them all together, or copy and paste in a Word document, because I wanted to see what education what level was needed. The major, sometimes they'll list the specific major,
Right.
the work experience, and sometimes they will list if there's any physical demands of the job. So that I would ask for the full job description. I recommend submitting the full job description. It would help. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Jose, I hope that answered your question for you. So next one, turnaround time. You already mentioned that, anywhere from a month to 2 months for scheduling with the counselor.
Yes. Base case scenario, a month to 2 months. Yeah.
Can you clarify if someone wanting to use VR&E rather than GIBIL will still be eligible for housing stipend? I think it's going to depend on.
Yes.
Go ahead. If they use their GIBIL prior to VR&E and they used BAH, however many months of the BAH is available, and they stopped using GIBIL and went to VR&E, they would still be eligible for the BAH, however many months were eligible left, correct?
As long as they have 1 day remaining and the GIBIL has not expired, VR&E can match the post 9/11 rates. That's why I recommend leaving at least 1 day, because what if the retro induction doesn't apply? And if you have that 15 years of the limit dating date applied to VR&E 6 months before it expires. And they can grandfather you into the post 9/11 rates if you're found entitled in before it expires. Um, yeah. And the rehab plan is developed. They can grandfather the veteran into the post 9/11 rates if it hasn't expired.
Okay.
The GIBIL.
All right. Well, I'm looking. We still have open 35 questions here. Wow. And we're coming short on the time. I know for some of you, if we do not get to your question, if we run out of time, we will. Please reach out to us, and the individualized questions that are specific to your unique case. I think you would really need to reach out to a case manager individually about your individual case, how it pertains to you, because they are unique. The general questions, we'll try to answer some of those general ones for application and eligibility for the most part, using your chapter 31 or 33. So we'll try and answer as many as we can here, but we're getting close to the end of the time of our webinar. Clarify wanting how to use VRE rather than GIBIL. We use that one. Additional question. Unfortunately, we're not able to unmute our attendees. That's not in our option. So please use the Q&A for your question. 100% permanent and total receiving state disability. Are they still eligible?
Yes. They for VR&E?
Yes.
I would think. Yeah, they can still apply, but the counselor would always evaluate the veteran's feasibility for employment, even if they're receiving SSDI, or even if a veteran has individual unemployability, which is the VA has determined that the veteran is unemployable, and they apply to VR&E, which is a return to work program, right? The counselor may further evaluate their readiness for employment. Some veterans, speaking from veterans that I worked with, they have said, I no longer want to have the IU, I want to work. But in those instances where they've been determined unemployable, then we can further evaluate their readiness for employment.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Chapter 33 or 31, this one, can you take online classes only? You can do either in person or online for that one. For 33 or 31.
Yes, the only difference would be is if all your classes are all online and you're getting the post 9/11 rates, that's half the national BAH rate.
Correct.
And if with VR&E, if you have dependents, depending on how many dependents you have, the VR&E allowance might be higher than half the national BAH rate.
It's good to know. This one, if you applied for 1 day on the GI Bill, if it takes 60 days or more to hear from a counselor and get the process going, is that correct?
If you apply, if I understood the question correctly, and I think I did see the question. If you apply 1 day before it expires, you might not hear from a counselor until 30 to 60 days.
Yeah, okay.
It might not apply. And so, as I mentioned earlier, if you apply before it expires and you're found entitled before it expires and they approve training for you, then they grandfather you in because you were entitled before it expired.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next one is, are there separate teams throughout the parts of California for, I'm assuming it's for like the VA and VR&E.
Yes, VR&E in California, we have 3 regional offices. One is Oakland, Los Angeles, and San Diego. Us here in Los Angeles, if I recall correctly, we cover San Bernardino County, LA County, Orange, Ventura, Santa Barbara, and I think Kern County. Riverside County, that is covered by the San Diego office. Yeah.
Okay.
I say that because my schools are close to Riverside. So sometimes I get veterans like, oh, I live in Riverside County. And I say, oh, that's the San Diego office. Yeah, even though they attend, let's say, Mount Sac. Yeah.
Okay. Next one, if do you have to be employed to use VR&E?
No, for some of our veterans are working, but remember for entitlement, if the veteran's currently working, we evaluate the effects of the service-connected disabilities with employment. Is the job currently aggravating the service-connected disabilities? What skills does the veteran have, and do those skills transfer to employment that's suitable or not? So sometimes veterans are not working when they're found entitled, for example, and they're in training and they have said, I need to work. I need to, I might have some financials that responsibilities I have to work, and that's okay. They say I'm going to work part time, so that's fine as well. Hopefully, it's within their goal because then they start gaining experience. Yeah.
Right. All right. Now we're beyond our time here. It's up to you if you want to stay on for a couple minutes more. We can answer a couple more questions. But then, like I said, we apologize if we do not get to your question. If it's specific to your case or individualized case, please reach out to Maura or another case manager and have your questions answered. Or you can contact Calvet directly at our email at caltap@calvet.ca.gov, and we'll try and get your questions answered as much as we can. We'll stay on. We'll give it another 3 more minutes here, and then we'll have to close out today. So, Lancer, can you use your VR&E for a master's degree?
It all depends on what's approved. And they approve what is needed for that goal that has been approved. If it's a master's and that's something that counselor approves because it's suitable for them, matches their interests or aptitudes, and they need that for that employment, then that's a possibility, yes. But also, as I mentioned earlier, dependent counselor will also evaluate how much entitlement time you have remaining. And then that's also a possibility because, as you may know, you need your bachelor's, some master's program, you need your bachelor's and your master's degree, and that can be 4 years.
Right.
If you're at the community college, that's 2 years. So you're looking at possibly 6 years of training. And if you only have 48 months starting from the beginning, so those are things that you work with your counselor. Yeah. But yeah, we have approved master's degree, but again, it's all a case by case basis.
Okay. This is a question. It's kind of unique. These last two questions are pretty relative. This one, I think you covered a lot of this about what is the perks of using the VR&E prior to using your GI Bill or your Chapter 33. Can you explain what the benefit of that would be so that they can continue using their BAH?
That's a very good question. The perks would be that, and this is something I do review with my veterans. I said, and even if they decide not to pursue VR&E, is being hopefully able to identify with your counselor a goal that's suitable for you. That won't worsen your disabilities. You'll research the labor market. There's been times when a veteran's pursuing a field and the research shows that it's a declining field. It's in the negative. And most importantly, making sure that you, from the start, you want to pursue something that you can do long term, right? And so that's one of the benefits. Another one is if you use VR&E, those months will not deduct from your GI Bill. So let's say you haven't used your GI Bill, you have 36 months, and you're starting with 48 months with VR&E because you haven't used your GI Bill. VR&E adds an additional 12 months to those 36. So if you complete any training with VR&E after your entitlement, they approve your program, and let's say they approve a bachelor's, for example, and you say, okay, now you're employable, and you start working, and you say, well, I'm going to get a master's degree, but for VR&E, you're suitably employable now. Then you say, well, I have 36 months of my GI Bill. So it gives you more time to use for further education if it's not approved with VR&E because now you're employable with at least, let's say, the bachelor's degree. Hope that helped.
Excellent. Excellent answer. Great. Thank you. Okay. This is a good question. Tora, how are you guys doing? I mean, you want to continue on, or it's up to you guys?
Yeah, for a few more minutes is okay.
Yeah. Okay. This person asks, their counselor mentioned that their disabilities are improving. Could this affect their rating or possibly lower their disability rating?
As you may know, compensation reevaluates disabilities. So that all depends on when that happens. Sometimes ratings increase because they worsen, or they decrease because they've improved. So, and those are things that the VR&E counselor can look after, like, oh, okay, they're improving. But not to my knowledge. It all depends on when your compensation reevaluation happens and what the outcome is. Yeah, so you can still continue with VR&E from my understanding. Yeah.
Thank you. The next, can you discuss the parameters of being eligible for retro induction? I don't know what retro induction is.
So the retro induction is possibly recouping some time back from their GI Bill.
Okay.
And the eligibility for it is if you were service connected when you were using your GI Bill, and if VR&E continues what they were pursuing under their GI Bill. So let's say the veteran used 10 months, right? And in those 10 months that they were using their GI Bill, they were service connected the entire time. And VR&E approves their major for the goal. Then VR&E can possibly recoup 10 months back to the GI Bill. So now they have 10 months back. They're back at 36 and transfers those months to VR&E. So now they have 10 months less with VR&E though. So that's what the retro induction is if
That makes
you were
sense.
service connected using your GI Bill and they continue what you were pursuing. And the VR&E counselor does provide a form where the veteran requests if it's also for a reimbursement of tuition that the GI Bill may have not covered, books that they may have not covered, the BAH rate. VR&E pays a new rate as of January. The GI Bill goes in by the academic calendar, which they don't provide the new rate until August. So maybe that's a difference too on the BAH that they've received as well. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. This question was asked about your email for your application status to check the app. And I think your contact information is up on the slide. So, take a note of the slide, and we've also put the PDF of the presentation in the chat, so you can access that at a future reference as well. So,
yeah. So VR&E can match the post 9/11 rates as long as you still have GI Bill time and it hasn't exhausted.
okay.
Mhm.
And
or a retro induction applied. Sorry.
Yeah. Can they look up their application status on My VA?
Unfortunately, no, because once you submit the application, it goes to the regional office where the veteran lives, which county, and all they would do is either contact the phone number I provided that on the chat. That's our regional office phone number. They can go to the website Vera. I also included it on the chat, or they can call or email me, and I can assist in looking at where their application is.
Okay.
Mhm.
I'm going to jump down a little bit. This is an interesting question because they wanted to ask if they could use VR&E if they never had post 9/11. So this was my case as well with the Montgomery GI Bill or Chapter 30 or Chapter 1606. Can they still be eligible for VR&E?
Yes, as long as they're 10% or more and they're found entitled and they approve training, yes. So VR&E does provide a monthly allowance, whether the veteran has a GI Bill post 9/11 or not. The difference would be is matching the post 9/11 rates, but VR&E does provide an allowance. It's not as much as a BAH. As I mentioned, it's zero dependents full time is a little over 700 a month. And
Okay.
each dependent a veteran has, it increases.
All right. This question, the link for the appointments, I think you did post that in the chat with the phone number and the Vera Home Force for that to check the status of your claims. And then let's see, go back up here. Will VR&E MISSD benefits? No, I do not think it does affect your state disability benefits because your VR&E is not taxable, so it doesn't have any effect on your state disability.
Mm-hmm.
This person asked if they could go to a job search website like Indeed and find the 10 jobs that they were referring to for their counselor.
Yes, most definitely.
Okay. Okay, we're getting in the weeds here a little bit, guys.
Yeah.
All right. How do you change your counselor in VRE if your counselor is not a good fit for you?
The training counselor, those requests are made to our supervisors.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They post the link is already in there. Is there, so the 48 months is the maximum for Chapter 31?
Correct. Of Chapter 31 alone, yes.
Okay.
But there are where it's all, I keep emphasizing it's all a case by case basis. Where we can provide an extension of entitlement, but it's all a case by case basis. Sometimes it applies, sometimes it does not. So that's something that you work with your counselor, because VR&E will provide the training to complete it. So those are things that they work with the counselor. But if a veteran only has an employment handicap, they can only use 48 months of Chapter 31 alone.
Right. Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you for clarifying. This person asks a little more clarification on the 12-year limit for the 48 months entitlement.
So for 12 years, more recently, we have been seeing veterans don't have the 12 years anymore because they're mirroring the post 9/11 forever GI Bill. But if the veteran does have a 12 year under Chapter 31 record, once their application is processed, it will tell the counselor if they have 12 years to there's a date. If those 12 years have expired, with the serious employment handicap, it waives those 12 years.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Good to know.
Mm-hmm. But then again, the serious employment handicap, if it applies or not.
This person asks, how do you leave one day on your GI Bill? Well,
Oh,
you don't,
that's my
you don't
recommendation.
certify. You don't certify
Yeah.
that class.
Yeah, maybe you leave 15 days to 30 days. Yeah.
Okay. I think we answered the retroactive induction for a reevaluation of your disability rating. So, well, that question's kind of unique. How does a reevaluation of disability rating affect? I think if you were already service connected when you started your school and then you began going to the VR&E, it wouldn't matter what your rating was as long as you were already service connected. It was above the 10%, correct?
Correct. Yes. Yes. That just reminded me. It did happen one time where a veteran was in VR&E, and he said, "Amara, they reevaluated me. Now I'm at 0. We couldn't provide services anymore."
Oh, that's true. There you go. So that's a good point.
Mhm.
If your
Yeah.
reevaluation goes down, it affects your ability to be eligible. So
Mhm.
hopefully that's not the case with you there, Mr. Ramirez. So
Yeah, but in his case, he did provide an update. He was working with the VA, and I believe he got his rating back, and so he just would have
okay.
to reapply with VR&E. Mm-hmm.
All right. We have one more question. This one, do you know, can we put the POC or the San Diego contact for the regional office? Let's see if I can look that up. It's going to take me a minute.
Yeah,
But I'll post it in the chat.
I'll look it up as well. Yes, I was gonna look. I have that. We have the main number for the regional office in San Diego.
Yeah.
Just bear with me. Let's
See
see.
here. I gotta put.
I'll post it in the chat. And we have 2 numbers listed for them. Let's see.
Well, while she's looking this number up for everyone, I want to thank everybody for your questions. Hopefully our answers will suffice, but if you do have anything coming up in the future, questions or anything, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. I'm going to turn this back over to Tara and let her complete the rest of the couple of the slides and close us out. But I want to thank you all for your time and your questions and your patience in going through them, and also thank Mara for her diligent answers of the questions, as well as Anthony in providing support for the Q&A. So thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you guys. Thank you so much. Again, this is all of everybody's contact. So if you have further questions that weren't answered, or you have you need more information, please feel free. This is our survey QR code. We would really appreciate if you would participate in the survey. It helps us better our trainings. These are upcoming virtual workshops. We have disability compensation and claims process. We have virtual career fair, and we have California benefits overview in February. So look out for those. And thank you again. And these are our links to our Calvet website, our Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And if you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call at the 1-800 number or email us, and any one of our training coordinators will get back to you. So thank you for joining us.
Great job. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. See you again soon.
And thank you.